So some of you who watched the wiki, you saw that you might have seen that the name of this talk actually changed a little over a week ago. It used to be called person-to-person networking. And I want to tell a quick story about why that's not the name of this talk anymore. I live in Portland, Oregon, and was walking down Hawthorne Street, stopped at a restaurant called Mai Tai there, and for a quick bite by myself. The restaurant was dead, and ended up chatting with my waitress, Emily. Emily just graduated from Skidmore last year and drove across country from New York to get out to Portland. And, how's my recording good? Can you hear me fine? Everyone can hear me, I hope? Yeah. Excellent, great. So, I talked to her, I asked her opinion. I said, we're going to get this talk about networking, about people talking to each other. What do you think? She said, no. I can't stand the word networking. It has this air of sleaziness, of slyiness, of people ripping out their business card and throwing it right in your face. I hope somebody knows what I'm talking about. See, hopefully not. Awesome. So, we wanted to talk a bit more about what's a genuine social interaction. What are the components of a real genuine social interaction between two people? We hope today to give you some great tools that you can use for the rest of this weekend, for the rest of this great conference, unconference, whatever you call it.
And I met a lot of you last night, and I already know that you guys are good at meeting people. So a lot of this is a call to action, or a different way to go about socially bonding with each other. Because you guys can do it, we need to do things differently than the way that a lot of people have been doing them. And so, we're going to give you an overview of our 4 points, which are:
first, be sincere.
Second, be curious.
Third, be helpful.
And then follow through.
So let's start from the beginning. Be sincere. What does that mean? I think that everyone kind of hears this, and it almost we hear it so often it doesn't even mean so much anymore. Be sincere. Be yourself. It was the advice I got before my first date when I was 14.
What does be yourself mean? Like, does it mean like sit at home in your mother's basement playing WoW, or does it mean accept yourself and share yourself at all times? Fine, if you like to play WoW, don't be ashamed of that. Say yes, this is part of who I am, because there are lots of people, obviously, that like to do that. So when you are yourself and you're yourself at all times, what you're doing is you're looking for a match, a good match. And so when you present yourself to other people and other people present themselves to you, what you're going to discover is whether or not you're a good match. And you're not always necessarily going to be a good match, and that's okay. But when you're honest about who you are, what you feel, and passionate about your message, you're going to be sincere, and sincerity builds rapport.
Exactly. I want to tell a quick story about something that happened to me about 2 weeks ago. Also, again, back in Portland. I attended a centennial dinner for Harvard Business School. It was run by the HBS along with Oregon. I did not go to Harvard Business School. I actually just invited myself, and they were dumb enough to say yes. And I sat down at this table. I picked it pretty much arbitrarily. And thank God, I was at this table at 10 people. Sitting across from me was this guy named Dan. He graduated from HBS in 1967. And Dan looks at the table, and almost right after I sat down, he addresses kind of all of us. He said, look, I don't want us to talk about what's on our resumes. I'm so sick of that. I go to a lot of these dinners. It drives me crazy when people talk about, oh, that they're, they went to this and went to this school and did this company and blah, blah, blah. I want everyone here to tell me a personal story about them, about you. And thank God he did that. And I said, of course I challenged him. I said, all right, sounds like you want to go first. And he said, you know what? All right, fine. So he told a story about a number of personal events in his life, which I won't repeat for him, but challenged his faith and turned him on to some meditation and all sorts of other, some different life paths that he ended up exploring. And it was pretty neat. It was a 15-minute story revealing some intimate moments from his life. And then there was kind of the story ended, and there was this moment of silence where I think kind of the rest of the table was kind of deciding what to make of all this, because you don't usually get that at a usual dinner. And so I just put on pause, and I picked up the mantle, and I said, all right, I think about a story right on your level. I told a story about how I found out about this 10-day silent meditation retreat that I went on about 2 months ago, actually. Had an incredible experience, met some great people at the end when we were allowed to talk. And sort of the crazy dream I had when I was there, and all the sort of adventure that it became for me. And then suddenly someone else piped up, and one woman talked about had been a minister at, she went to Harvard Divinity School, she was a minister at Boston's Old North Church, and she was a Unitarian minister there and converted and became an evangelical Christian. And I'm not here to talk about whether or not you agree with that decision, it has nothing to do with it. It's that intimate moment and how she came to that decision, what the things that she saw in her own life that convinced her that that was the right decision for her to make. Her husband then gave a story about losing $7.5 million of his own money in a venture. Wow. And he, talked about how the crisis of conscience that he went through, decided to actually double down on the venture that he was going through, and the incredible sense of redemption and gratitude that he felt as it had just begun to pay off that day. He told us a little bit about it. Another woman talked about that she was in an ashram in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and helped the ashram move after 17 years to Portland, Oregon. She had just moved there. And the funny thing is, then we have dinner ended, and we got to kind of drinks, dessert, all that stuff, and a few people had to leave, take care of their kids. Another guy came over, and he sat down, and we were like, oh, great, your turn. We have all kinds of stories. We want you to tell us your personal story. And he started talking about his resume. He started talking about a website he was trying to launch, and he immediately gave us all his business card after the 2 seconds of meeting him, and the whole table just kind of leaned back in our chair. Because when you've had this magical moment of when you've been talking to people and you've been learning about their lives and what really they're passionate about, incredible stories that they have, and you get to this interaction that we're all trying to avoid, it ruins the moment. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about being sincere.